Good morning, everyone. And hopefully, I think we're doing something completely different this morning. We'll see what happens. But what we've got going on this morning is I'm trying to broadcast out of OBS and see how this works. It's interesting because the overlays all fit into OBS, which I find fascinating. So I've got my chat overlay right here, and I've got the multi-streaming controls over here. And provided you guys can all hear and see me, this all worked really well. Well, what sold me finally on OBS was not being able to control the music properly was always a problem. And I knew I was going to have a problem with that, and I was going to keep having a problem with that as long as I was with a mixer, because I think my poor little analog mixer over here has seen better days. So I went on ahead and disconnected the music from the analog mixer, and now I'm running it just direct into OBS. And so this should mix it pretty well now. The other thing is that I can now select a separate camera, which is important because at some point in time, and this isn't working yet, but that's my desk. That's my Mayline right there. So what I'm hoping for is that at some point down the road here, I'll have the Mayline working, and we can actually move over to my actual physical desk, and we can start drawing over there, or doing painting, or whatever else that we need to do. I think we do much better. I'll do much better whenever I can do painting over there, and that way you can watch me do painting. This week is the last week that my office will be right here with this background. I'm going to move everything over there so that the Mayline is on either side. So, excuse me. That should be more interesting, I think. And so we're going to move the desk over there, and then we're going to be able to flip around my art desk and all of that stuff, so that should be cool. That's what we're hoping for anyway. So, anyway, I've got everything rigged up at the moment. The other thing that's good about this particular setup is all of my broadcasting stuff is on this monitor. So there's nothing on this monitor and this monitor, and I don't have pieces all over the place. Good morning, Luna. How's my audio doing? Is the music better balanced today? Because I'm now using OBS. And so I'm hoping, and I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that we've got this sort of more balanced a little bit more. So tell me if you're hearing the music being too loud, because now I can adjust it with a little knob right here, you know. So what I was saying earlier, Luna, is that this is my last week in this location. I'm going to move my computer over there so that I can use the Mayline, because look at this. I have the ability to shoot at a second camera. That's actually my Mayline desk right over there. So the Mayline's not set up, and the camera's just draped over the light, but by the end of this week, I'll have all of this stuff sort of set up differently. And then this camera will be right here on the monitor, aimed this way. So well, no, actually, I'm glad you're being a picky audio tech. The windy noise might be my fan. All right, let's turn the fan off and see. Let's see if that killed that audio. Did that kill that windy noise? Or is that hiss coming in from my mixer? So that's me being, I mean, if I've got somebody who's got picky audio tech skills on there, then I'm gonna abuse that. So, okay, so I've turned off that fan, which in the future won't be as big of a deal, because it'll be over there, in theory. So, okay. Well, if you can barely hear the music, then maybe I can bring it up some. Killed some of the wind. So I guess some of that is hiss off of the... Because there's nothing going on in here now. It's dead silent in here, with the exception of the music. Well, no, I mean, I guess it's plausible that the microphone's picking up the computer. Because, I mean, here's a fan vent for my computer. Well, yeah. I know you're being picky, but, you know, my whole...
I didn't hear that.
No, I didn't hear that either.
Try that again.
No, I'm not going to try it again. I perpetually fight with my Alexa, I've noticed. It might be the computer fan. Okay. But you can hear the music, and if I turn the music up a little bit more, it doesn't overwhelm like that. That should be good, right? We want enough music that feels like ambiance, but we don't want so much music that it's overwhelming, you know. So, okay, cool. Well, there we go. Anyway, what I was saying was, yay, look, I've got the ability to switch to my mainline, which is nice, and, of course, the ability to switch to my monitor, and the monitor with the inset. And the cool thing about the monitor with the inset, good morning, Donald. I'm having fun with OBS. Fun thing about the audio with the monitor with the inset is I can make this monitor bigger over here or smaller. You know, so like my video here is very small because you really don't need to see the back of my head during this whole thing. But per what Brent and I were talking about last week, I think I'm going to take this camera and I'm going to mount it right here so that in the future, when it's over there, this camera will be looking this way so that as I'm drawing, I can draw and then look up and go, see, this is what I'm drawing about, ha ha ha, you know, and stuff like that, and that'll look a lot better. I feel like I'll probably put the camera actually on the wall so that there's some distance, so it's not so weird, because it could be really weird if it was like really close. I'd just be doing the eyeball thing, and that won't help you any. So there we go. So that's the way that's going. I'm hoping this is still going out through all of my various multi-streams like before, but hey, you know, I never know. So, Donald, what we're doing is we're experimenting with OBS, which is Open Broadcasting Software. I should have probably used this before, but I didn't. That is odd. So your Facebook, well, I don't know if is that possible that it's something to do with me broadcasting? Can you, are you having any problem? Oh, okay. Well, that's entirely plausible. Who knows? Anything could happen. So, okay, well, I was working on a piece for Fred, and we're going to get back to working on that piece. So here we are. It's Monday, and every Monday I have to clean my monitor. Every Monday. Although this Monday, I've been working on, over the weekend, I found, and this is actually really amazing, I found a character log from a role-playing game that we did in 2015. And my character sort of was the my character, I decided to be the one who was the journaler, or whatever you want to call that. And so I was writing the adventures of our group down as a journal. And you know, it's been 5 years now, and they're restarting that game, and my character is restarting it. And so I was wondering whether I could remember all of the pieces, and then I found the actual journals. So I've been going through and having way too much fun reading all the journals, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fix all of the lines in this. So we're going to go ahead and drop everything down so that it's no longer a problem. And that way we can fix everything. Make sure that all of this is good. We'll come back through and we'll adjust this line width later. But what I'm discovering, of course, is that all these lines aren't necessarily lined up. So I want to make sure I've gotten rid of all these funky lines. Well, I'm glad that everything's good on your end, Donald. I was a little concerned there because Luna was having issues, but she thinks it's likely to be on Facebook's side, and I'm willing to. I absolutely trust Luna's judgment on this. I was about to say something that sounded kind of like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to agree with Luna's judgment. Well, of course I believe Luna's judgment. Why wouldn't I? That's so weird. Sometimes you say things and you're like, I don't think that means what you think it means. That word. You keep on using it. I do not think it means what you think it means. Nope. So, let's take a look at this. This isn't that hard to fix. We'll just do this. Oh, those, yeah, phone calls and news updates. Woo, doggy. So, Donald, the big thing we're looking for today is I am broadcasting out of OBS, Open Broadcasting Software. Excuse me. Man, somebody's doing something outside. And the reason we're doing this is, starting next week, I will be able to do this. And you can see that. That is the camera that is right now sitting on my Mayline. You can actually see my T-square there at the bottom. And we're prepping to have that camera set up so that we can start doing shows where I do painting and other things like that, and I can paint from that desk. My main line's really where all my painting supplies are and where I draw in actual legit like paper and pen. So we'll do some shows which will be obviously on the monitor, and some shows will be on the main line. And so I wanted to make sure that I had that capability, and in order for me to get that capability, I kind of had to switch to OBS. And so I worked this morning to figure out how OBS works. I don't know why I went backwards. This is such a strange thing for me to do. Went back and forth to figure out how OBS works, and ended up with figuring that out, and I got 2 cameras running now, and I'm going to take that other camera there and mount it up to make it so that you can see the desk. And then we're going to change the setup here so that this desk is over there and the main line will be right here turned the other direction so that it'll be behind me. And I'm going to take this camera and I'm going to put it right here, and we're going to do that. I'm all excited about this, by the way, if you're wondering. one of the reasons why I probably said it 16 times, because I'm very excited about this idea. I think this is a great idea. When I first set up this show concept, I was doing it as sort of a everybody's stuck at home, and I know that everybody's stuck at home, and so I was just trying to give something for somebody to do when you're stuck at home. And now I'm actually quite enjoying it. I think it's actually good, and it's very, very good for my productivity. So I'm going to keep doing it. Well, if this is going to be a permanent solution, then I need to kind of rig more than just this little corner of my office in here to be for the show. I need to go on ahead and actually rig up for the show. Ah, yes. I noticed that security is more of a pain in the butt than it's worth half the time, I feel like. I'm having real problems. Of course, part of my problem that I'm having with Adobe right now is the authenticator, which keeps failing on me. And then when it does, I end up having to re-log in and prove that I am who I am and all that stuff. I'm with you, man. I tell you, sometimes I really wonder how useful security is. My sister and I were just talking about that this weekend. The point being that in this day and age, sure, you have to worry that somebody might spoof your equipment or whatever, and I get that. However, there's literally billions of us out there in this world right now, and it's not impossible for people to get your information and spoof it, of course, absolutely not. But I've noticed that the odds are pretty slim as long as you're relatively careful. And I feel like the protection stuff is more draconian than the actual thing. Uh-oh. Yeah, I hope she gets it working too. I feel like that'd be a bummer if she couldn't get that working. I'm really having a problem here. Can't get this. Speaking of things that aren't working, can't get these control points to fix. Here we go. Let's just connect these vector lines right here. Make you one. And simplify it. There we go. And then we should have, there we go. That's what we're looking for. I can smell the grass. I love the smell of fresh cut grass, but I am apparently allergic to it, which explains why I'm coughing and hacking over here. Alright, got that. Okay, that took a lot of effort to get all that squared away, but it looks much, much better down there. Yeah, well, Luna's one of the best. In her little group, she's been really good at this stuff. Every game that we're in, she's good at helping me figure stuff out all the time. I always admire computer people. I used to be a computer people a long, long time ago. And I'm kind of amazed that that's a phrase that I'm using now. Used to be a computer person a long time ago, you know, sort of a thing. But sadly, my computer skills are no longer as good as they used to be. Which is alright. I don't want to do computer anymore. I mean, I did my bit for King and Country. And now I just want to draw. You know, it's a thing. Yes, I'm still a computer person, just a different kind of computer person. I mean, I'm enough of a computer geek that I have a monitor and I've got OBS running and all the little screens in OBS all work.
I'm not sure.
No, and not you. Oh, hey, you know what else I did this weekend? I got a garage door opener downstairs that's, of course, smart. Now, their app sucks, so I'm kind of... I was going to say, it's gotten to that point. There once was a time, a long time ago, and I'll get my cane and I'll start doing this. Once was a time where network and computer person were the same person. There was, really all you had to do was figure out what your IRQ was and whether you had a conflict, and then you had to put the 10 base T cables, and as long as they all made a loop and everybody's card was working, your intranet worked. Then you had an outboard server and you were fine and you could get to the internets, and it was beautiful. And that was back in the days of DOS and Windows 3.1.1. Now, you really do need a network person who's a network person and knows all about the networks. And then you need to have a computer person who does servers and things. Hey, come here. Want to say hi to people? You gotta say hi to people. Yeah, you, Burr. Wait. There we go. George has come to visit. Good old George. So, he's trying to figure out what all these buttons are doing, because they're all flashing and they're all blinking, and he thinks that's fascinating. I think, Donald, I think that all of us geeks will always be geeks. I've been a Trekkie since 1973. It's never going to stop. I mean, I don't even remember a time in my life when Star Trek wasn't part of my life. You like all the things that blink over there? Isn't that cool? Aren't those blinky things cool? What I need to do is teach you how to use that. You can be my audio engineer. You'd be my audio engineer? Think that would happen? I think that'd be great. You could be my audio engineer. It'd be beautiful. You're just too young to do that now. Yeah, George really does love the spotlight. He loves being in here. He loves being in part of this and stuff like that. He's a good cat, though. He's a good cat. Oh, yeah. He's a good cat. What a good cat. Now, okay. Problem is that he's still kitten. And kitten will kitten. So, I know that I have to periodically tell George to please stop tearing up the office, because that's not good. But he's still a good kitten. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, he's into... We got to watch out, because he's starting to get into the chewing cords part of his life. There's that. But he came to visit. That was our George time. Anyway, I now have a smart garage door opener. My plan to run this entire house from Alexa right here is coming together. The problem that I've got, of course, is that none of the garage door openers have allowed their app to be connected directly to Alexa, and I'm having a little bit of an issue there. So now I have to say, Alexa, tell the Mighty Mule to open the garage door, and that's a long process. What I really want is to be able to use IFTTT and control that way, so that if you use that, you can have with IFTTT, I can make it so that when I just say a command, all the lights in the house turn off, the garage door closes if it's open, and all of the coffee maker preps itself for the next morning. This is my battle plan. I'm about 65% there. Yes, that's the other thing, is it alerts me. I have it now set up for an alert that if it's 10 o'clock at night and the garage door is still open. I love my wife dearly, but she is very forgetful about that one thing. She does not remember to... Is this something I should try? Let's try it. Computer, do you have a boyfriend?
I'm happily single. Thanks for asking. Here's another fun thing. Try asking me to tell you a joke.
This seems fraught with peril. Computer, tell me a joke.
Why do bananas drive muscle cars? They love to peel out.
That's not a joke. That's a dad joke. That's a dad joke. It's telling dad jokes. We have done nothing more than to convince it to tell us dad jokes. Although that was pretty good, actually. Aren't you glad we asked that question of her? Okay, I'm done. That's not true. I'm never done. You know that I'm never done. It's just never going to end. Okay, yeah, see, so Luna is still talking about because everybody's at a different time frame in our show here. Luna is talking about her garage door telling her that if it's been open for more than 5 minutes or 30 minutes, and I wonder if I could set mine to do that. The problem is that I kind of want just a time where it says if it's been open for 30 minutes, going ahead and auto close it. Because I don't know. Kind of I don't know. Shelton's friend tried to date Alexa. That's funny. Okay, George is being a pest. Okay, let's get back to work over here, because that's funny. Okay, let's go to the monitor. Get back in here. George, you are who you are. I'm just saying. In case you were wondering who George is. He is who he is. Okay. Back to work here. I'm just going to clean up some of these lines that are not connected. I tried to get all these lines as close to connected as possible, but there's always going to be mistakes, and that's actually just fine. That is just fine. So I pull this line out like that, and that line out like that, and then I'm going to go in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this vector line right there, so that it's all one line. We'll simplify it too. Boy, his finger's not in good shape, is it? So you get for being psychokinetic, psychopathic. When you're psychopathic like this guy is, you get bent finger disease. I'm making this up. Anyway, over the weekend, I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I actually was, we had our first game. We've been playing a Starfinder game now for about 5 years. And it used to be a Pathfinder game. And what happened was the players wanted to keep the players, and they wanted to change GMs, and I was willing to GM, but I didn't want to stay in Pathfinder. I'm not a real... I wouldn't say that I'm not D&D. I'm not a D&D-er, but I don't I don't really. It's not my field, and so I feel kind of like, I would just kind of put you up against generic orcs all the time. you know, like I've got better things. You probably just get bored of my games, so because I don't know enough about that world to set it up properly. So, anyway, so what I did with them was I said, well, okay, I'll take over the game, but we have to switch to Starfinder because that's a space campaign setup, and I don't mind that, but I'm much more likely to come up with Star Trek-like plots if I'm in a Star Trek-like universe. Which is kind of fun. I actually was hearing a couple of the players. You always think you don't do a very good job being a GM. You always think you are a bad GM. And I'm no exception. I certainly didn't think I was that good of a GM. I thought I held the game together just fine. But, I felt like, especially reading back over the notes from the Pathfinder version of the game. It's let's take a look here. This is psychokinesis. So, and that's actually in this section up here, not here. Gravikinesis is the next section down here. But this is psychokinesis is the name of this, and so it's using your psychic abilities to kinetically move things. And what I'm hoping to give the a picture of here is that he's pushing the guy back, and the guy has let go of the gun. So like a mind blast would be kind of doing that there. Anyway. That's my thought. Does it not look like that? I mean, it should look like that. It should look fine, right? It looks fine. Unless you really think it doesn't look fine, then we'll worry about that. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. Now I'm looking at this, though, from a long way out. So we're going to simplify the back here of his head. If we want to simplify that, we'll simplify some of this stuff, too. Doesn't need to be that complicated. Right. There we go. There. Okay. So anyway, I felt like my stories were serviceable. They weren't horrible. But then, and a couple of my players last night were like talking about, then there was this one time that we did this, and this one time we did that, and they sounded so excited, and it was like, aw. It's kind of cool. And my wife reminded me that I keep calling myself a storyteller, and so it seems kind of appropriate that my stories would be interesting in a role-playing game. But I never think of it that way, of course. Everybody has doubts. That's just normal. The real question is whether you give in to your doubts. That's what happens to a lot of us. Sometimes, of course, the doubts are silly. It's silly of me to doubt being a GM. If I was a bad GM, nobody would want me back. So, that's kind of silly. And it was sort of called to the carpet for that, which makes some sense. It's kind of what wives are good at. Wives and husbands and wives and your partners in life often are very good at calling you to the carpet. You like it or not. Okay. Feel like we've got 2 lines here and we don't have 2 lines here. really, the cuff should come back like this. There we go. Just like that. There we go. So, oh, good. That works. Makes it. Oh, don't do red lines. Red lines. Okay. I'm glad that's. There we go. Let's get all this straightened out down there. Okay. Here's what we're going to try to do. That. And then we're going to take, not that one, but this command and this command. We're going to. So I'm just trying to get his. I feel like the cuff of the pants should come along here to this back side. And then we'll just put his foot in the shoe there. It's okay. It's what your cat's there for. If you've got a cat will call you to the carpet. Don't think they won't. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like they should get married or have to get married or anything like that. That's ridiculous. Your life is your life. Live it the way you live it. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It does aggravate me. Well, that's sort of the point. My elevator music is there to be there whenever I stop talking. Which, it's me. That doesn't happen very often. Yeah, I get very aggravated with people who shame people for not having kids, people who shame people for having kids. All of that stuff is ridiculous. Don't shame anybody for anything. We got better things to do with our lives. Now, not liking Star Wars, not liking Star Trek, that's something to shame people for. I'm just saying. I mean, let's be realistic here. I'm just saying. You can't shame them if they haven't seen it. Yes, Luna and Donald will be single together. Just like Alexa. We just found that out. And Alexa's happily single. She just said that. I find it funny that... I always find it funny. I've never actually ever asked Alexa that, which kind of cracks me up. Let's get that through there. Turn that down. I find that particularly humorous, though. Okay, we're going to simplify this line. Doesn't need to be that complex. It's very, very complex here, and it doesn't need to be that complex. Okay. Yep, and so, yeah, I think that, yes, but you like the original 3, right? 4, 5, and 6, episode 4, 5, and 6? As long as you like that, you're fine. And the truth of the matter is, as long as you like one of them, Star Wars, Star Trek, I'm okay with you. Rogue One rocks. I think that people were one of the, I think a lot of us have been anime fans for long enough now that Rogue One isn't as weird as people. I think people were the suits, which I go on record a lot being mad at suits. See, now Brent's gonna shame all of us. that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Babylon 5 rocks. Well, that's the other thing, right? Babylon 5, Firefly. You know, you've got all of these, even the Battlestar Galactica. They lived a very short time, but they were really, really good. You know. I'd even be willing to say you could loop in Farscape in that. Well. I'd say Farscape fits into these things. You know, the thing though about Babylon 5 is they got rid of Tamlin Tamina. And that makes me sad. Every time. It's not that I don't like Ivanova. I absolutely love Claudia Christensen. But boy, I was a fan of Tamlin Tamina before Babylon 5. And I just wish they had, instead of dumping the character completely, I wish they had repurposed her and let that, because I've been a fan of that actress for a long time. I'm glad to see her in Star Trek, and that was cool. But it still was sad. I liked her. And I really liked her in B5. Ooh! Buck Rogers with Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray. Oh, man. You know, the guy who designed the Colonial Vipers also designed the Thunder Fighters in Buck Rogers, and I really love those guys. I think I actually have one. Hang on, let me switch over. Hang on. Because I think over here in my Starship collection, I have quite a profound Starship collection. No, I don't. Crap. Where'd they go? Left. That's well, I'll have to prove it to you later. Because at the moment, I don't actually have. But I used to have the little Corgi Thunder Fighters. They were die cast. Well, it was the 70s. And you kind of have to go, it was the 70s. But, well, and if they remade it, though, see, that's the thing. As a Starship person, I'm always sad when they dink with things, right? Like they always mess with even the Colonial Vipers. The Vipers in the original series were so sweet. And when they brought those Vipers back, the Mark 1s in BSG 75, they look kind of like somebody kind of tossed a little grenade inside there. You know? It was like, they were all kind of roundish. They were right in a lot of ways, but they kind of looked a little roundish. And I was like, oh. You know, yeah, well, it's a thing. I don't know. I just work here. So, anyway, back to work over here. We're just cleaning up the lines here, making sure all of our lines are good, make sure that they don't crisscross or do something weird or strange, which, all these guys are doing something weird and strange. I think it's interesting the way that this program sees you drawing and puts down the dots, right? I think that when it comes to these old shows, Buck Rogers, and I think as time goes on and we evolve as a society, I think we're going to find a lot more shows that just can't make it, right? I can't watch Blazing Saddles. It's not, I just can't, I don't find it funny. And part of it is, Southern racism. I grew up with Southern racism. And Blazing Saddles, even though it's written by someone who is black and they wrote it, and it's Mel Brooks who's, Jewish, I have a real problem with the racist jokes. I don't find it funny, and so I can't watch Blazing Saddles, even though that's intended to be making a point of it. And I get that. I just have an issue with it. So, I think we're going to find a lot of things, as time goes on, a lot of things are going to be difficult to watch. I'm sure that things like The Jeffersons probably are going to be difficult to watch at some point. And because the way that they address and talk about racism will hopefully become outmoded and weird and uncomfortable, like it should be. Racism should be uncomfortable. This is a mess. How did I do this? How did I get all tangled up in here? I've got it. Yeah, this is a... No, this is a mess here. Let's just get rid of that. And that. And that. Nope. And that. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Producers is really funny, and Spaceballs, of course, is the bestest ever. I quote from Spaceballs all the time. So, it's not that I dislike Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks' movies. I still always hope that there will be a second Spaceballs. Yeah, hope all the time. Right? That's the side effect of being hit with a psychokinetic blast, is that your fingers get all screwed. They get turned inside out. There we go. Better this way. Better this way. Alright, moving this along like that. So, Donald's saying something that scientists used to think the smooth front helped cut resistance, and then later determined that the blunt nose broke the wind resistance. Then we take a look at the X-Wing and Vipers based on that theory. I agree. I love X-Wings, although A-Wings are still my ship. If you ever put me into a Star Trek or Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Wars simulator, first thing I do is head for the A-Wings. Fast, efficient. They're not heavily shielded, and I know that. But, man, they are quick. A-Wings are the best. A-Wings and B-Wings. Always. So you're saying that the blunt nose of a ship is actually useful because it breaks up the wind resistance. I always took the front of a Viper to be more along the lines of there we go. Just clean that up there. Yeah, it looks much better. The tail end's gonna have to be cleaned up. The front of the Viper I took was an intake of some sort, although I don't know what for. All three engines have intakes. The only thing I can think of is it must be some kind of sensor package on the front there. That's what I would put there. I like to theorize about what these things are. Of course, I like to think these things out. Which definitely happens when I design ships. When we get back into the world of Bellatrix Rising, and we've got the Kittiwake back in here, we're going to be doing the same thing. I like to have logical pieces in a starship. Why is this piece like this? Why is that piece like that? If you think you've been a victim of psychotendinitis, then you might be susceptible. You might be allowed compensation. Call 1-800 this is a scam now. Man. There we go. I'm just kind of getting through here. I'm going to clean this up a little. There we go. Just like that. Excellent. All right. So now what we're doing here is I'm just making sure all my control points are working here. I'm tossing the... Okay, we gotta go in here and clean up some of this stuff too. There. Because naturally this needs to be more like this to make this ergonomic and fit in the clutch of your hand. I want that to kind of go around. Right? You might be eligible for compensation through the legal firm of I Make More Money Off of You. Call 1-800 this is definitely a scam. There we go. Just rounding that around, make it look a little bit better. Call the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Oh, we're on a tear today, aren't we, guys? We're doing good. All right. There we go. All right. I'm just tying up all these points because they are really all not connected. Nobody's connected out here. What's going on? This is like outer Mongolia as far as communication connections here. Let's connect all this stuff. You're not working. There we go. When I connect all these lines together, it helps them disconnect, apparently. That's what they're doing. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd love that. That would be great, Donald. Send anybody you want here. And if they ask, I'll help them. I mean, I'm more than willing to give any advice that I can. I wish I could. I wish I had more following so I could help him get the iPad, because the iPad's awesome. That's definitely a thing, but I am more than willing to help anybody who wants to get involved here. There we go. Actually, it kind of looks pretty kick butt right there. Just leave it alone. All right. Let's check his other hand. His other hand up here is suffering from telekinesis tendinitis. Oof. Let's get this one squared away. Simplify these vector lines. First things first, let's get everything simplified so that I can find out what's going on. Somebody was talking about it was Quora. I was on Quora today, and I was interestingly talking about the registry number of the Enterprise, and was having a fascinating discussion with a gentleman who was a fan of Star Trek and had come up with this really interesting idea as to why it was 1701, which involved the Navy putting together things and having. It is common knowledge in Star Trek's universe that the Enterprise was originally going to be called the Yorktown, and that was rejected at some point in the early on in the process. It was rejected in favor of Enterprise, and somebody was saying they liked the idea that some British guy finally said, "Look, let's not do that. Can we not do that, please?" I started laughing. I thought that was good. Well, we still are having a problem there, aren't we? It's fine. We'll fix that. But it is, well, that's awesome. He needs the iPad Pro with the pencil, and that is remarkably expensive. It really is, and I get that, and I feel for the kid. You know, that's a tough one. But you know, I think he's doing good. There we go. Let's just connect everything. I'm gonna say connecting these makes these much easier to deal with. There we go. Get rid of all the weirdness in it. No meaning. But yeah, the Pro is an expensive piece of equipment. It's a good one, but it's an expensive one. See you later, Luna. Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's get this squared away, because he is definitely suffering from hand is screwed up itis. So we're gonna push out this finger till we're here. How many little points are in here? Man, that's a lot of points. I don't need that many points, I don't think. There we go. Wow. That was a lot of points going a lot of different directions there. Alright. How many points are in here? Alright. So we look at the hand structure. We've got a set of muscle groups right through here, and then we've got another set of muscle groups right here. So when the hand is stretched out like this, we want to make sure we're taking a look at all the structures that are coming through here. So this guy represents this structure, right? Not a problem. This pad is actually pretty easy to do. The hard part's this structure, and part of this is that this is a large palm. The palm is rather huge and takes up a lot of space, and I've got so many points in here. Why do I have so many points? There we go. I'm not even sure that it knows what's going on this line. I think there's 2 lines, and that's why I just can't get them to connect. So many little goofy weirds. Okay. Now we can connect those two, and that makes it one. There we go. And then simplify this. Let's simplify it again. Alright. Much better. Okay. And we'll put all of these together like this. And then hopefully when I hit simplify now, it'll knock those out. Or it won't. Oh, there's that. One of those, once you have a point, you can't get rid of it. Okay. Now, let's get... The palm area is still a very large area. It could happen. We're just saying. We're just saying. All right, now we're getting better. This muscle group right here connects together so that you've got one group going this way and one group going this way. This takes a lot more effort than I thought it would to get down to this point. There we go. Just like that. Perfect. Okay. Whew. That took a lot of effort. But now we can see this group right here and this group right here. And what we really should do is bring this pinky down, right? Like more like this. You can see now it's starting to look a little bit more realistic as far as a hand goes. Which, by the way, no artist likes hands. No, none of us do. They are the bane of everybody's existence. It could be like Rob Liefeld and just not even bother with hands. I think a lot of us dream of doing stuff like that for that very reason. Because hands are hard. Hands are difficult. And I intentionally put hands in this picture to apparently just abuse myself. I don't know. I don't know why I did it. There we go. That looks a lot better. Right? Now let's fix this guy. Connect those two together. Simplify the line. Let's make sure that everything exists where it should. There we go. Yes, it does. We always give thumbs a little bit of a point from this angle because we're actually looking at his thumbnail at this point in time. When we look at a hand like this, the thumb's generally rotated inward so that you get a profile of the thumb. Since we're getting a profile of the thumb here, I'm going to work with a point on one side. There we go. There we go, just like that. There we go. Everything is the structures. You want to keep the structures correct. But I mean, I've got a model right here. I can look right at my, okay, how am I supposed to do this? You know, I've got a model right there. It's very useful. That's another thing that people around me keep getting drafted for that job. Like, hey, hold still. I'm going to draw you real quick. Most everybody's okay with that. There are a couple of people who are like, that's a little strange, but you know, okay, I'm good with it. Yeah, I kind of understand. This needs to be simplified too. I am going to say though, I really like being able to draw a vector and draw a vector. Not just have to plot out my vector lines. It's rather frustrating. Here we go, that's what we're after. Perfect. Now we're getting into that position where this is starting to work right. Now, the hand has a bump out in this curve. Yes, I'm going to draw you just like one of my French girls. There, Brent. Just saying. Don't think I won't. I draft people. It happens. happens all the time. Much more complicated for my wife. She just gets bitter. I'm not French. Okay. Well, there's that. Okay. Now we've fixed that hand, fixed the other hand. It looks a lot better. He looks a lot more like he's being flung out wherever. And that looks a lot better. Now all I've got to do is just fix his face a little bit. And then I think we're going to be done with all the corrections on this particular piece. And then we can go on ahead and start putting in the line work. And we'll be done. So, the line weight. Not necessarily line work, but line weight. I'm going to simplify out this piece so that, or simplify out his eyes. Oh, that's cute. Look at that. He's not really like ecstatic about what's going on here. Put these guys together like this. We got a little bit of a. There we go. And we'll do this. This is the I can't believe I just got thrown around like a rag doll. Look. My son and I were watching the last year's, well, not last year's, a few years ago. I guess it's been 4.5 years. 4.5 years ago, the karate Olympic team. Watching Japan's team. Boy, they've got a solid team. Which I know a lot of people are thinking, well, that's a given, except that it really isn't. I mean, Serbia's team was really good too. So I was kind of, wow, this is a mess. And in fact, I was duly impressed with Serbia's team. Jungles for armpits. Okay. And I think it's funny how we culturally set up things in our heads. There we go. Like, our cultures do all these weird things. I mean, you know that I'll get onto a high horse about our TV shows not allowing nudity. But armpits, another thing that fascinates and intrigues me is that one. And not because I disagree or anything like that, but you know, you'll end up with, here's this girl, she's been all by herself on this island with nobody around for, 15 years, and they finally rescue her, and at least she's got nice, cleanly shaved armpits. It's like, don't think that'd be my priority if I were stuck in a desert island. You know? Oh, you can barely hear me now. Can you barely hear me now? Hey, that's a funny idea. Is the music overwhelming? Or is this just one of those I should move my microphone a little closer? Maybe I should move my microphone closer. There we go. Now my mic is a lot closer to me, so that should make it a little easier. Part of this is that I'm turning away from the mic, And that's always going to be kind of a weird issue. The question really is, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Because I see... Okay, good. Right? You save that razor, and then you put it in a box. And then when you see the ship, that's when you go use the razor. That's what happens there. We figured it all out now. We figured it all out. Now we figured it out. And like I said, it's a matter of cultural acceptance and what is and what is not culturally acceptable, and I find that fascinating. And you know, my personal preference aside, I find it fascinating. Because we all have like these weird things. I think learning to be an artist sometimes makes me off and on disturbed by things that I learn. One of them is our beauty secrets. Right? Same thing. It's like the dude's perfectly shaved, and except that he has, of course, like 5 o'clock shadow. He has to have 5 o'clock shadow, right? Because he can't possibly. Oh man, we were just talking about Buck Rogers and all of those having some funny things, and the truth of the matter is we have some really weird things, but I find the armpit hair thing to be particularly interesting because if the woman were to do what would be logical, right, and have armpit hair when they find her on the island on this mythological TV show, it would stand out. Yes. That's funny that you would say that, Brent. Castaway was exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking that as time went on, Tom Hanks got weirder and ragglier and stranger, and I mean, it was awesome. He really looked good. But yeah, I mean, I think about this a lot. The fact that if we were to be realistic about what a woman would look like after she'd been stranded on an island for a long time, and do that in a show, everybody'd be like paying attention to her armpit hair and not listening to the actress doing her acting. I think that's a fascinating statement in and of itself. Too bad Luna's not here to talk about this. Sure, she would have an interesting insight on it. I know my wife does. My wife has a very interesting insight on this stuff because it irritates her. It irritates her a lot. That's like the first thing she notices, Oh, yeah, she's been on this desert island for 4 years by herself, but notice that she's got, boy, she'll go on a rant about that. It's a thing she'll go on for a while. So, clearly this is something that bugs her on that one. And I don't blame her. There we go. Mm-hmm. That's funny. There we go. I think I've straightened out almost all of these lines. I figure that's where we were. We got these lines all straightened out. Now let's get Gorilla Face over here straightened out, because he's definitely Gorilla Face. We've got too much face in the front. It's going too far forward, so I want to bring this back. At least this part should be coming up under his chin a little bit more. And we're going to bring this part back. It seems like we were just at this song, like, not very long ago. Do 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 do. I'm just gonna pull this on through. A lot of points there. So there we go. In fact, I think I could probably pull this entire line through. So what I think I will do is pull this line through and then just trim it. There we go. Let's put his finger back together. Poor finger. As if torturing myself here, I've noticed that I have a remarkable number of hands in this picture. And hands are so hard to draw to begin with. Here, let's get this all. Ooh. Straighten this out, start to see a lot more of the errors in the setup than you thought you had. Well, we will connect these two, and I think that'll help us a lot. I'm sure as time goes on, I'm going to get more practiced at this. And it'll be less of a problem. Right? So I figure that as time goes on, we're gonna... Now, I really want the effect of the finger pressing up against the temple. Hey, Allie, how you doing? We're working still on that same picture that we had before the weekend started, where we are trying to get this guy who's using telekinetic powers to push the other guy back. At least that's the theory here. And while we're at it, we have had fascinating discussions about all kinds of weird stuff, which I find particularly entertaining. But I'm also using... Well, that's all right. That's all right. You can stay as long as you want, and I'll be here tomorrow. I'm also using OBS software. Luna is still talking about body hair, which is apparently the topic du jour in the chat room. So that's okay. You've got to go to class, and that is perfectly acceptable. But it's good to see you today, even if it's only for a little bit. Today is a cooler day here in Denver. You really want to get into that discussion, Allie? I don't know, my friend. You may not. I don't know. But Luna is, to be fair, in that all by herself right now. So she might need backup. Who knows? So I don't know. I don't think Luna rarely ever needs backup. She's pretty good by herself. One person army. So we're just gonna go in here, and I'm just trying to get all these crossed lines to stop being crossed. There you are. It is. Well, okay, so it is. It was pretty amazingly cool this morning. So, Allie, it started out today at about 15, and I don't think it's going to get above 24 is what they're saying today. So that's pretty good. I like any day under 30. Because anything above 30, and I don't go outside, and I don't go anywhere, and I'm a Coloradan all the way through and through. I'm good to like minus 20, minus 30. At minus 30, I might put a jacket on. I'm very cold-blooded. You know, and I'm kind of worried. It's warm everywhere. So it's nice that we've got a cool day, especially since we've got so many fires going and stuff like that, and so it worries me. It really worries me. So there we go. Okay. So I was just saying earlier that hands are the worst thing for artists. Artists hate hands. So naturally, this picture has like 12 hands in it. Not really 12, but boy, I've got so many hands in this picture. And there isn't an artist I know on the planet that likes hands. And it's just so brutal. It's like, it's so terrible. We all hate hands. They're so hard to draw. I mean, not impossible, obviously. They're just difficult. So, of course, I have this picture with so many hands. It's like a big horse. That's a horse joke. And you kind of... There we go. So he needs another finger, so I'm about to give him another finger here. It seems like we could make jokes all day about that. There we go. So we'll just go in here, and I'm going to connect these two. Right. I'm going to adjust their line width. There we go. Protest fires. No, we have forest fires. We have a lot of forests that are on fire right now. And so cold days are good for those fires because they're those fires will die down if we're colder, if we have colder days. Wow, those fingers are tiny. I'm starting to worry about you over there, Luna. I'm just saying. Although I like protest fires. It's like a fire that we put out there to protest forest fires. In protest of forest fires, I'm going to start a fire. I think that sounds like somebody's logic. I'm sure somebody has thought that through and thought, that seems like a thing. Let's start a protest fire. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, Donald. That was the most dad joke that we've done so far on the show today. And that includes Alexa. We brought Alexa in to do a dad joke. We had a guest dad joke earlier on. Okay. Now let's line all this up because you can see his hands here. We want his hand to go down like this and his hand to go back. So, check all of our points on this. First of all, it's like a screwed up point. Put that through like that, like that. So here is going to be, ooh, that's a mess. So we're going to then come along here and we're going to do this. So there we go. Like that, and like that, and then like that, and then like that. So when you do hands, we've got to remember the main part of the hand is a block, a square. And then we have the thumb, and then we have the four fingers. And if we spread that out, it makes more of a triangle shape, but this is still a square block. So that's all right, Allie. I'm having a problem with the rumbling and the tumbly, but the other one, Smokey Bear. We used to have a TV show or a TV commercial where, we'd have this bear, Smokey the Bear. He was a guy dressed up in a bear suit with a ranger hat and like overalls and things like that, and he would say, "Only you can prevent forest fires." So it's because America has an awful lot of forest. There's a lot of open area out there with forests. Truthfully, I would say Denver is not a very big city, relatively speaking. Certainly not compared to, say, London. But if you were to say, I would think that Denver's probably about the size of Dublin, maybe a little larger than Dublin. But around us, there's nothing. Once you get, I would say, about 50 kilometers from the center of Denver, it turns into open fields and stays that way for like maybe 500 kilometers. And there's just nothing. They're little teeny towns that show up. But until you reach Kansas City, there's nothing. There's just nothing out there. So, it's a long way between Denver and, say, Salt Lake City, or Denver and Cheyenne. Denver Metro was about 7 million in the 80s. It's like there's nothing out there. And if you head south of Denver, or if you head into the mountains, we're right on the edge of the mountains. Here's your history lesson for the day, folks. Here, let me switch back over to Ring camera. No, I've got Ring camera with monitor. There we go. Okay, see you later, Allie. Bye-bye. Have fun. Well, I was going to give an entire, geography lesson, because I love geography, and I love the geography of Colorado. I'm fascinated by the geography of Colorado. Right? Yep, you're surrounded. Poor Luna. Of course, I'm never really terribly worried about Luna. So there. Hey guys, anybody here remember Robotech? Oh man. Good old Robotech, which in third generation, that's the third series of Robotech. They drove through Denver, but couldn't find it because it was buried under ice. Denver was. But then they broke through the ice and found Denver because, of course, the reason it was buried in ice was because the mountains that surrounded Denver on all sides filled up with water. The mountains that surrounded Denver on all sides. And I mean, it was like so funny. So I always get humored when people visit Denver for the first time. They're like, it's all flat. Oh, yeah. Continental Divide's fascinating. The other thing that really fascinates me is the plateau that we are on here in Denver. That fascinates me. I just am intrigued by that. And the Springs. The Springs is down there on that lower plateau. And I find that fascinating as well. I know. It's like if only we really were buried in... No, we're surrounded by mountains. Upslope. Upslope is the thing that I think that is so really, truly intriguing about Colorado that people don't know about, you know? I find that fascinating too. Okay, back to work. So we'll head back to work here. Since Allie's not going to be here for me to give a lesson on geography for Denver geography, just get back to work. Once a teacher, always a teacher. It never changes. Okay. Here you go. I should do a geography lesson with my stepmom's kids. Stepmom doesn't actually... I mean, stepmom has students. She only has one child. Who's been here before. Well, and Shadowrun should have at least have our topography somewhat right. Oh no, I'm not clicking on that wall. Oh, we're drawing. That just seems like that's fraught with peril. All right. Good. All right. Cool. Now we've gotten this down to meaning downtown. Do you know why that is? 'Cause I do. That was a dramatic I do. Well, thank you, Donald. I appreciate that. Of course, you're probably not referring to me, but that's okay. I actually used to be a driving instructor for a while there. And I used to love taking the kids downtown, and we'd go through the 5-way intersections, the bizarre 3-way intersections that are only found downtown. And I'd explain the history of that. And so they'd get their little history lesson on top of getting a driving lesson. And so the original streets of downtown were based off of Cherry Creek. Yep. And so, exactly, it's the river in downtown. It's that Cherry Creek, which goes diagonal. And they built all of the streets going off of Cherry Creek, you know, and they were then at a 45-degree angle to everything. I'm never stopped learning. And Luna's also right. There used to be 2 towns downtown. On the northwest side of Cherry Creek was a town called Auraria. And on the southeast was a town called Denver. And when we were trying to decide, we were becoming a state in 1876, we were about to become a state, and they were arguing over who was going to be capital. And it was not just Denver and Auraria, but it was Golden. And actually, on the ballot, apparently there was something in the order of 50 towns that wanted to be the capital of Colorado. And what ended up happening ultimately, of course, was that Denver won, and Auraria is now nothing more than the campus there. Yep. Oh yeah, the fact that we were a convergence of a number of rivers helped a whole lot in how Denver was to become the biggest city. But because of that, then Arvada, me being an Arvadan, Arvada came along as well. But Arvada was just out in the middle of nowhere, and the only thing Arvada had for it was a railroad line. And so the railroad line, though, went absolutely straight. So when Arvada was built, all of its roads were set up north, south, and east and west. And then as Arvada started reaching towards Denver, and Denver started reaching towards Arvada, they realized they were going to have a real problem. And so they had to rotate Denver's streets north, south, and east, west because it was easier. It's really hard to say you go northwest on Spear until you come up. I mean, it's like that's really difficult to say. So it's easier to just say north and south and east and west. Yes, Golden was indeed the territorial capital, but Arvada was where gold was struck. And that took forever for people to actually clear up. For the longest time, they would not verify Ralston's claim here in Ralston Creek. But he had the claim something like 25 years before anybody else struck gold. And so Arvada is like where gold was struck first. And I'm sticking to that. And Luna and I can sit there and be territorial about this. Because I'm an Arvadan and I'm from here. That's actually also true. Golden got its name from the wheat fields, which aren't there anymore. But everybody believes it now to be golden, but they also, for the longest time, even in my history books, in the 5th grade when I was here, and when I was in history, the history books here even said that gold was struck in Golden first. And it was actually kind of funny because I remember our teacher in 5th grade saying, well, the books say that, but they're wrong. And I remember her telling us that, all of us going, huh. And then it was the mid-90s when they finally said, they finally claimed, they finally accepted the claim from Ralston for the Ralston Creek thing. So there you go, history. Always interesting here. I'm glad you spent time up here, Donald. Arvada is a good city. I like Arvada. I say that because it's my hometown. Yes, you're right. They are confusing it with Silverton. I'm still always going to just simply have to say that Arvada is the best place in Denver, and that's just the way it goes. And I know that, you might disagree with me, but you're wrong. There you go. This is where I make a claim. Or maybe not. It's alright. Doesn't matter. So, anyway. I will always be an Arvadan, and I know that. And I know that I'm weird. And it's okay. It's okay. There we go. Oh, yeah. You know, I really like Belmar. Belmar lives on the bones of an old mall called Villa Italia, which used to be there. And I loved Villa Italia back in the day. And that doesn't mean I don't like Belmar. But I feel like it was a good successor to Villa Italia. It much cleaner, nicer, more outdoorsy. You know, Coloradans are outdoorsy people, and I feel like it makes more sense, you know, to have an outdoorsy mall. Than it does to... Oh, wake up there. Yep, us Easterners. From Arvada, us Easterners. Right? So was I. Teenage mall rat in Villa Italia. Or Westy up here. Man, Westy. Got my first Car Wars game. Right? I got my first Car Wars game in Westy up here. I love that place. I still remember that. So where I live right now is literally about 4 blocks south of the house that I grew up in. I moved back into my old neighborhood. I used to ride my bike by this house when I was a kid. And little did I know back then that I'd live here. So I'm right back in my old neighborhood. And so we used to walk all the way up to Westminster Mall, and my aunt would take us up there, and I'd keep buying Car Wars supplements. That was my big thing. I loved Car Wars. Right, Donald? Car Wars rocked. And you know, the new Car Wars that just came out has little plastic cars that you can stick stuff on, like guns and things like that. I'm like, oh, that's just so cool. Couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford to get in on that, and that makes me sad. But that's okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. We always do. Always do. So, all right. There we go. Okay. Really? You're in the industrial part of town. Arvada is such a great little town. What a wonderful little town. Sometimes it's got like such a cowpoke thing going to it. So at Jake's Roadhouse, do you guys get bothered by the trains right there? I mean, that's just the other side of the tracks, and I always think about that. Every time I pass Jake's Roadhouse, I think about that. Like, do the trains just blast you guys? I always wonder those things. I can hear those trains coming down that track here, and I'm like a good 1.5 miles away. You know? I always think about, geez, these must be loud. Okay. I'm feeling like my lines are solid and good. Everything looks really good here. I've got everything connected properly. So we're going to save it. We're going to start adjusting the line width. We're going to scale it up. And just tap in, right? Like right through here. And come through here like that. And through here like that. And right back here, and back of his head, just to give some interest to this line. And we're just going to do this. Right? And that's just making these lines look a little bit more reasonable, right? And I'm okay with them getting pretty big because we have to be about the same size as... Oh, yeah. That's what I do. Mostly during the middle of the day, of course. Right. This is really fascinating to do. Right? There we go. There. Ooh, no. There. Better. Now we've got a lot of variety in the line work. Oh, I love Philly cheesesteaks. Okay, well, I'll have to definitely stop by there. That sounds like something my kid and I would do. This is sinister work right here. We've got the guy doing the... So we have to have sinister music, you know. It's going to be sinister music. It fits the telekinesis thing going on here. Right. There we go. All right. Now looking at it from like the 10,000 foot level, like out here, I really want more line there. And a little bit more right here. As the truth is, this is one of those little drawings that sits in the book. And it's, you know, it's just going to be this is one of those drawings that you'll see wow. You know, Donald, you're selling me on this. Loves me a good Philly cheesesteak. Oh man, those cheesesteaks are good. Now I'm all hungry, of course. Hey, I'm feeling kind of like and see, now we've gone to Latin music. I love flamenco guitar. Okay, there. Now, all we did was just give some variety to the line. line weight so that it looks strong. And what I'll do then is tomorrow, when we get back tomorrow, we'll only have a few minutes more left on this, and that's converted over to raster, and then do some background work on it. And then it'll be fine and ready to rock and roll. So that's what we're going to do, is do that. So that's where we will be on that day. Hey, this worked really well. OBS actually seems to work really well, and I'm kind of sad because I hate having to do the best fast food Japanese I've gotten to is Kokoro, which is in Arvada. Where are you thinking? I mean, because there's Namiko's and Kokoro, and they're right next to each other on Wadsworth there. Namiko's is really expensive, but Namiko really does come from Japan. She and I went over there at one point in time and was chatting with her in Japanese, and I mean, she was making fun of my Japanese. Yeah, I mean, Tokyo Joe's, I've always felt like, is Japanese food in much the same way that Taco Bell is Mexican food. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's not bad at all, but it's extraordinarily Americanized. And so it's great, actually. I would much, much, much rather have Tokyo Joe's than Taco Bell. But, yeah, but yes, Kokoro. Kokoro is the best. So Kokoro is spirit or heart. Like when you say, boy, he has a lot of heart. That kind of thing. It's a lot of spirit. Sure is spunky. That's what that means. So they are not fast and they are expensive. But everybody in there is Japanese. So I was sitting there at one point in time, I was there, I can't remember why I was there, but I was there, and I talked to Namiko for a while, and then I talked to one of the waitresses, and she was like where was she from? Seems like she was from Yokohama, like someplace really weird. Not weird, but like, she and I were talking about accents, because she was making fun of the fact that I have an Ibaraki accent. And so it was particularly entertaining. And I'm like, well, of course I have an Ibaraki accent. I was working there. So when I learned Japanese, I picked up the accent. And so, but she had a very mid-Tokyo, South Tokyo, prim and proper accent. It was very funny. So anyway, it was just an entertaining thing. See, Inari is like, I love Inari. I miss Japan just about all the time. Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging with me today. I appreciate it. Now I'm hungry, and now it's lunchtime. So it's time for me to go. Because now you guys have gotten me all hungry by talking about Philly cheesesteaks and Inari and Philadelphia rolls and oh well. Yeah, you've got a katsu ramen. That is cool. There's a ramen place that's right here, and they just opened up before COVID, and I feel so bad for them because they're making it, but they're struggling, Anyway, yeah, there's that. Katsu ramen's good. Okay, guys, I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm hoping I can start getting up the other camera and getting it rigged so that we can have everything scrambled around. So, anyway, we'll see. I don't know. I think that's a project that's gonna take all week. Anyway, I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, and keep your eyes on the stars.